is the Three Guys Talking Ball podcast, back again after another week here, recapping everything that was and looking ahead to the pre-rivalry week here in college football. It's crazy that we are already on Thanksgiving Eve week, and we've got NFL, a lot to talk about. The Chiefs finally lost. The refs didn't bail them out again. Some surprises in college football, some teams that are on the hot seat, and some surprises. I am getting absolutely ratioed on a comment I made on Joel Klatt's podcast on one of his reels, because prior to the week one, I said that Colorado was ass. I said they're a 3-4 win team at best. They're going to lose to NDSU week one. They're going to lose to Nebraska week two. With that, the whole team's going to check out. And I am getting ratioed hard right now.
Ratioed? What do you mean by ratioed?
Like they're making all the Colorado and Dion groupies are making sure that I know that it was a terrible pick. I was like, I was wrong. You were right, I guess. And I think I have a positive spin zone on this. Realistically, I think Colorado should be sending me a thank you note, potentially offering me a job on staff.
Reverse psychology.
I said, well, I also said what Colorado has to do to be successful. And what do you know? When they do this, this has been the key to their success. I said they need to stop playing so much daddy ball. They need to commit to the run. They don't need to commit to the run, but they need to run the ball enough and effectively enough to where teams have to at least respect it. And they have done that. They still like to sling the ball around all over the place, which you should. You got Travis Hunter, Shadir Sanders, 2 top 5 picks in the draft. The D-line is absolutely filthy. Thank Warren Sapp for that, who is on the staff. And they have some really nice pieces, and they are poised to win the Big 12, which we also had as a title for one of our shows when we did our Big 12 preview, that we asked, is the Big 12 Colorado's conference to lose? And right now, the Big 12 is Colorado's conference to lose, Grant.
Well, yeah, because BYU, if you ask me, I think they're frauds. I'd compare them, Dylan, to
never. Did you ever buy into them?
Never bought into them. They were a lot like the 2022 Minnesota Vikings for me. They won a lot of close games and won a lot of games they shouldn't win. But
are you saying that they are the fake ID of college football? This year's fake ID of college football?
Yes, this year's award.
It started as Colorado, and it has now plateaued into BYU.
Yeah, but you know what? I don't think we can say it's Colorado, because you and I both did not have high expectations on Colorado coming into the year. Didn't think anything of BYU, because if people remember, Dylan, and you'll remember this, before the 2015 Iowa season when it started, I said they would lose their first game to Illinois State.
You did.
I did. I thought they would lose that game, and I thought the season would be a free-for-all. They'd go 4-8, and Kirk would be fired. I didn't have these expectations for BYU. I thought they'd be the middle-of-the-road of Big 12 team. I said Utah and Oklahoma State in the Big 12 title game. And, well, I was wrong. On today's edition of Where Grant Was Wrong, the preseason Big 12, but when I look at BYU play, I see a lot of games that they probably could have lost. A lot of, like Missouri last year, where so far they're getting lucky.
Also a candidate for fake ID of college
fake
football.
IDs. Oh, Missouri is 100% a fake ID. They're done. They're over. Eli, congratulations. You had a nice bowl win last year against an Ohio State team that didn't care, and they were playing their third stringers. And you still had a fourth quarter comeback to beat them. Congratulations. That Cotton Bowl win doesn't mean jack shit. Yeah, I think BYU's a fraud, and we'll maybe talk about this team a little bit later. I think Arizona State has a better opportunity to possibly beat Colorado than BYU would.
You're probably right. As I try to share on our Twitter that we are live, and as I was sharing it on Facebook, I also see I have another comment on the comment I made on the Joel Klatt show. So, do you should I go back in and read it?
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, let's see here.
Let's see what someone said about us today. Hopefully, this person doesn't accuse you of hating veterans like that person did me.
Yeah. See, that ain't that the truth. Let's see here if I can find it. 8-2 now. It like just disappeared on me. I don't know what's going on here. So
Well, we've lost Dylan.
well, no, I'm still here. So the Wesley Williams, hey, come back. I respond, never left. So what's the reason? Let me guess. Division week or luck or refs, or you can say you were flat out wrong. I was flat out wrong.
Yeah, he admitted he was flat out wrong. Like what? That's the problem. That's the problem with the internet culture we live in.
I could go on them. I could say, yeah, and they should have thanked me because I have a show. We talk about it. You could come in, tune in. I told them what they needed to do to be successful after they've done it. Huh. You're welcome, Dion. You're welcome, Shadur. You're welcome, Travis Hunter. I tell them what to do, and weird. It works. Maybe I know what I'm talking about. I don't know. Sometimes I do. I was wrong about them, about their season. I was right about how they could be successful.
So you were technically wrong because no one thought Colorado would do this. And to pluck 5 new starters out of the transfer portal and to have their O-line play as good as they're playing it's almost something you're only going to see once every 5 years because you need that cohesion and that chemistry together. So to your point, we weren't too crazy for saying what we said to start the year because based off the facts and how football is won, we should have been right most of the time. And usually we are. Unless
when we're wrong.
Which again happens.
It does. Not going to get everything right all the time. I mean, shit. I've been told for the last 3 years that I have a sports podcast. I should be a genius at fantasy football. Well, how that's working out for me?
Not well.
No. But you know what? I won by a half a point on this week, and
you beat me by a point.
And I beat you by a point. I held on there. That one was a tight one. I checked Tuesday morning. I was like, oh man, that game was a lot closer than I thought. But
yeah, when I fell asleep during the Cowboys game, CD wasn't doing anything, and he must have had a good game after I turned it off, and he made it somewhat close. But just not in the cards. You know, Dylan, it's funny. I'll say this for the audience. So I'm 6-5 in me, you, and Ethan's Dynasty League. All right.
Yep.
I was 6-2. Now I'm on a 3-game losing streak.
Ooh.
Against the rest of the league, I'm 6-2. Against you and Ethan, I'm combined 0-3.
You have to call us Daddy now.
All right, Daddy. Can we move on?
Yes. Let's move on here. Let's go to our recap last week in college football. Our team of the week. I'll start here, and my team of the week is going to be a team that we probably thought their coach was going to be fired by the end of the year. But now I think he has parlayed himself into at least another year and maybe a couple more. I'm going to go with the Florida Gators. Now, this was the first time that it actually looked like the vision, what Billy Napier envisioned when he was hired and what he wanted to do with this Florida program. It looked like it finally came together on Saturday. The defense was flying around. They made Nussmeier uncomfortable all game, and when the game hung in the balance and they needed a drive to put the game away, Florida hits LSU in the mouth and ends their playoff season. DJ Lagway is legit. He is probably an early sleeper to be a Heisman contender next year if everything goes to plan. And you got to be happy for a guy like a Billy Napier. The AD came out and gave him his full support, and then after that, they got absolutely piss-pounded by who was that? Georgia?
That was Texas.
Or Texas?
It was.
Yep.
Dylan, it was. They played tough. Sorry not to take away from your take here, but Played a tough one against Georgia. Legway gets hurt in that game. They end up losing by 2 touchdowns. After that, they have a bye. AD gives Billy Napier the public voice of belief. They get killed by Texas, but Legway's hurt. They don't have Graham Mertz, so they're on QB3. That's not fair. Going into Austin on QB3 after you got the public.
Do you think it was Kurt Warner's long lost son?
Maybe. Kurt Warner does have 6 kids. So it very well could have been.
Because I know he had the one that played at Kansas State, but we're getting off topic here.
Mm-hmm.
So back to you. But anyway, you were saying.
Well, yeah, that Texas game, what do you do when DJ Legway's out? Graham Mertz is done for the year with an injury. You're on your 3rd quarterback and you're going to play a pretty good Texas defense. Not that fair.
No, it's not. And they answered the bell, and who knows with Florida. But anyways, who's your team of the week?
So actually, Dylan, Florida was one of my options I had. And the reason I want to just piggyback on that a little bit before I go to my team I picked, but you get the public voice of, vote of confidence from the AD, but then also you brought up DJ Legway.
Which really, it wasn't fully a vote of confidence. It basically said he's the head coach for now. They never said they were for sure bringing him back next year. It was more so for now. We'll see.
Mm-hmm. But I will say this: now Billy can sit back and he can truly build his program. You know why? Because he has a quarterback. And then now these Florida boosters, they can sit back and if they want to do something with an NIL program and get some better skilled players out there or some better offensive linemen like what we saw Colorado did this offseason, you can say, hey, look at this quarterback you can play with. Because the quarterback is a straw that stirs the drink, and he makes the food taste better everywhere you go. So they got that going for them. And also they are, according to the ESPN and everywhere else, recruiting at a very high level. What does that mean? Not a whole lot because this coaching staff has to develop these players. But again, when you have the quarterback there, guess what? People want to go play for your program. But
correct.
Now, back to my team of the week. I brought them up earlier, and it was a little bit of foreshadowing, so let's people see if people are paying attention. But it's the Arizona State Sun Devils. Dylan.
Also on my list of teams as well.
Coming into the year, I think everyone expected this team to be 3-9, 4-8.
I think they were projected. They were picked to take last in the Big 12.
Last in the Big 12.
They might have been picked last in the Big 12.
Yeah, last in the Big 12 or second to last in the Big 12. And people had no expectations for this team this year. Is it year 2 of the new regime? I want to believe.
Yep.
And there was no juice around Tempe this year. But you know what? This offense is explosive. They're playing really good football. And, look at it. Arizona State's 8-2. They're in the thick of the Big 12 championship race. And this past weekend, to go into Manhattan, Kansas, and win
off a bye,
to go into there.
Kansas State was off a bye.
Kansas State was off a bye. Go in there and get a 10-point win, but then to also have your quarterback throw for 3 touchdowns against a very scrappy Kansas State defense. It just shows Arizona State is going in the right direction. And Colorado's a great story this year. But what's this team going to look like next year? You're going to lose your 2 best players, and are other people going to want to leave with them also? The Big 12 is up for grabs, and if Arizona State's building this thing from the ground up, and you're in a great part of the country where you can get high school players from everywhere in the state of California, Arizona, and all along the West Coast, and maybe even a little bit of Texas there, since you're playing in the Big 12. You might play a game of Texas 3 times a year. Those kids would love an opportunity to go home. Los Angeles close by. Los Angeles is close by. Phoenix, fifth biggest metro in this country. Arizona State has the possibility to get some good players.
Are they going to mention Arizona State? The state of Arizona has very underrated as far as football talent. If you go back, if you go down the list and look at guys from Arizona that are on NFL rosters or making plays in college, Brock Purdy is from Arizona.
Yep. So Arizona State is in a good spot to set themselves up for some success. And right now, like I said, they're in the thick of the Big 12 title race. I think it's time we forks up. Let's give the Sun Devils some credit.
How do we?
I think it's here.
Yeah, there it is.
Yeah, right here.
Forks up.
Forks up.
Hey. But all right, well, I guess we'll stay with you then. What's your NFL team of the week?
Whew, this is a tough one. But I'm gonna give credit where credit is due, and I'm gonna talk about the team who beat my team. And it's the Buffalo Bills. I said it was my game of the week, and Buffalo went out and they put together a hell of a 4-quarter performance in that game. And don't remember after week 3 when they boat raced Jacksonville, and I was like, damn, I'm worried about this Buffalo team. They look good. And then the following week they laid an egg on Sunday Night Football, and I'm just like, is this the same old Bills? Even without Keon Coleman and without Dalton Kincaid, that looked like a damn good football team. And that looked like a football team who had a great week of practice. And they weren't going to let the noise and the hoopla of, oh, it's the game of the year, the defending champs are coming to town. Allen's 3-1 in the regular season, 0-3 or 0-2 in the playoffs, whatever it is, yada, yada, yada. They didn't let the noise get to them. You know, Buffalo, they came in with a great game plan, just like the Chargers did this year. They're the only two teams in the NFL this year who have kept Mahomes in the pocket. They've rushed with integrity, and they don't let that Chiefs offense build those plays. The second and third play of the designed play with Mahomes in his legs, and Josh Allen, without two of their better pass catchers, went out there and played a flawless game. Buffalo, they were well coached. They dominated on third down. They dominated, at least on the defensive side, they dominated the line of scrimmage. They couldn't establish a running game much. The Chiefs did a nice job there. But
they were effective enough, though, to still be that threat against them.
But when it was third and got to have it, Buffalo made a play 75% of the time. You know, and they looked crisp, and you know, they were a great team on Sunday, and that's why I'm going to give them as my team of the week.
Yeah, well, and they talked about it in the pregame show, is about the defensive line that's going to be the most sound defensively and rush with great integrity. And you saw that Buffalo was much better at it than Kansas City was. There were a lot of times where you saw Allen, who stepped up in the pocket and extended a couple of drives with his legs, had a couple of long runs. The Chiefs, which was good for the most part this year, it didn't show up today. And Kansas City still in the driver's seat. If you're Buffalo, you know, you've been here before. As impressive of a win was, got to see it in the postseason.
Oh, exactly. And that's why there's no reason to panic. It's like you've seen this before. This happens all the time in the NFL. Teams get a win in the regular season, but it matters what you do in January. And another real quick, Dylan. I'm just talking about the Chiefs here real quick. Just because real quick. People, you know, Isaiah Pacheco might come back this week, which is nice. But Rashee Rice is still out for the year. If you ask me, if I could flip those two injuries, I don't wish injuries on anyone, but I'd rather have Isaiah Pacheco miss the rest of the year and have Rashee Rice come back.
Yeah, because you have Kareem Hunt. Kareem Hunt's been good running the ball.
Kareem Hunt's been good. Also, the player the Chiefs missed the most is Jerick McKinnon.
Yes.
They missed that third down back. That scat
guy. Is he retired or is he on another team?
I think he's just kind of just a free agent. You know, but it's tough. He's almost 30 and you know, he's got those bad knees. So
let's see here. 21 to 23 professional career. I am not seeing. Forgot he played with the Niners.
Well, yeah, because unfortunately, it just didn't work out there because he had a couple ACLs.
Yeah, yeah. It doesn't show that he's officially retired, so he's probably just hanging out there chilling as a free agent.
Yeah, just waiting for a team.
So my team of the week is going to be a team that you earlier talked about, is the Los Angeles Chargers, and
there you go.
This is a game that up 3 scores. They come back. Bengals fight back, tie it up. And how many times the last 30 years of our life do we see the Chargers up big and then they come back and blow it? But not this Chargers team. They got aggressive, and when the game hung in the balance, they were able to keep them out of the Bengals out of field goal range, or they kept them in, but made it tough kicks on McPherson to where they were long and he ended up missing them. And then when they had to, it was like I think Justin Herbert was like 6-20 in the second half. 3 of those completions were on that final drive. And I was sweating it out because I needed one more point from Cameron Dicker to get me the win in fantasy football. And I was happy when they scored. And I was also sweating bullets because I was like, just make this kick. Please make this kick. Please make this kick. He made it. I win. Chargers win. Everybody's happy. And let's go to the sad side of the NFL this week here. I'm going to go with the Chicago Bears. Now, they go out, they fire their offensive coordinator, bring in a new guy, which looked like it was the right call. They did a great job. Caleb Williams kind of looked back to what he was when they were in that four-game win streak, I think it was. And they are my disappointing team of the week because Eberflus is going to Eberflus, where they get right on the brink of field goal range, but which is just frustrating is how often do you see it where teams, they get on the brink of field goal range, they put so much faith in their kicker where it's still a 50-yard kick is a 50-yard kick. It's not a gimme, even though as good as and as often as we've seen kickers make 50-yarders, and they still had plenty of time left, but they get complacent and they don't move the ball the rest of the way. And when you have those longer kicks, you got to have the ball. The ball's going to fly a little bit lower, so you get you have the distance to make it there, and end up being a low kick. The Packers block it, which I want to know the deal with the devil Curly Lambeau made to where the Packers are still always good and pull these types of games out of their asses, and how looks like they get another quarterback for another 15 years. Hopefully this time it works out where they don't win a Super Bowl, which I think is also the funniest thing is they've had 30 years of quarterback bliss and still only 2 Super Bowls to show for it.
Mm-hmm.
But the Packers the Bears are my NFL disappointing team of the week.
So I'm gonna kick it to something I started last year, Dylan, and I'm gonna go with one side of the football here. I'm gonna go with the New York Jets defense.
Good choice.
Because Anthony Richardson.
You could just say the whole Jets team.
I could, but the reason I'm sticking with the New York Jets is because this defense was supposed to be the strength of this team this year. Anthony Richardson is coming off being sat down for 3 games?
Yep.
He was essentially in a timeout. He comes back, and against what's supposed to be one of the best defenses in the NFL, I got my notes here. Richardson was 20 of 30, so they let Anthony Richardson. Best game as a pro, complete 66% of his passes for 272 yards. That's 9.1 yards an attempt, with 3 total touchdowns, 2 on the ground and 1 in the air. That's just unacceptable. Like I said, he was supposed to be the strength of this team, and then now all of a sudden they can't stop the Colts in this putrid offense. This is the straw that broke the camel's back. The New York, they are now totally dead, and all the talk that Sauce Gardner and DJ Reed Quinn Williams have is over because now they're coming off as frauds. And this organization has set themselves back another 2 years, 3 years, because head coach gone, GM gone. Now Rodgers isn't going to want to come back, so they don't have a quarterback again next year.
I don't even think the Jets are going to want him back the way it sounds. No. If you saw the report that Woody Johnson said they should bench him after the 30th, which I think it's probably good for the Jets because Aaron Rodgers is not all in on football, and we've talked about it on this show.
No, he's not.
You want the quarterback 100% football 100% of the time. Rodgers is not that guy.
No, he's not.
But is that all you got then for a disappointing team?
Yeah, like I said, just the Jets, just the complete incompetence that was them, letting the Colts look like they knew it. Like a quarterback is coming off being sat down and being put in timeout for 3 weeks, and you're going to let him look like a top 5 pick. It's unacceptable.
And it's too bad I don't have the button that says the goddamn Jets from Big Daddy, but sticking with you, Grant, what is your college football game of the week?
Oh, you know what? I left my notes in the other room because the dog was yelling at me. Let me let me.
Grant's just moving around all over the place. He's got a new
moving
downstairs.
Yeah, moving around because
the dog. He's got a house hotel. He was actually walking around naked before the show. And I was like, Grant, you got to put some clothes on. We want to still maintain some viewership. But I mean, he picked that Oklahoma shirt. I think he's actually trolling Hayden right now with the since it's Alabama Oklahoma week.
Wouldn't that be something if Oklahoma somehow pulled off this win? They have no business winning this game. But boy, wouldn't that be something? You'd end the Tide playoffs hope right there. Gee.
Yep.
Okay, I'm gonna figure this out. College game. It was like I said, I talked about this team earlier, and I'm gonna talk about them again. BYU and Arizona State.
Oh,
almost I'm guessing a de facto chance in the Big 12 title game.
If you can keep talking. I'll look it up.
You're in a driver's seat to have an opportunity to play Colorado as long as Colorado doesn't fumble the bag and lose one of their last couple games here. And also, we really finally get to see Arizona State to see if they are this team or not. And BYU, they have another opportunity to show people that they're not frauds like we think they are, that they're not the fake idea of college football. And in the conference that's wide open as the Big 12, here's your opportunity, Arizona State, BYU, to give yourself an opportunity to go play Colorado and get into the college football playoff and continue to build your program.
So it looks like that would probably put Arizona State in the driver's seat along with Iowa State as long as they win out.
Okay.
And I know they have Kansas State the weekend of Thanksgiving, and they play Utah, who is fighting for bowl eligibility here. You got Utah this week, but right now, as it stands, judging by the standings, it's BYU 1, Colorado 2, ASU 3, Iowa State 4, Baylor 5, Kansas State 6.
Okay.
And which also crazy is that Kansas, I guess, technically is not eliminated from Big 12 contention, depending on what were to happen.
Well, if we know for sure they got to win their next 2 games.
They got to win their next 2 games. They got to beat Colorado, which that game is at Arrowhead.
It's at Arrowhead.
Colorado is only a 3-point favorite at that. Kansas has they've been playing better as of late.
Out recently.
As they've beaten 2 ranked teams. They fell short against Kansas State, but seem to be figuring something now. And they have a dang good quarterback in Jalen Daniels.
Jalen Daniels.
I kept thinking I was confusing myself. I kept thinking it was Jaden Daniels, but it's Jalen Daniels. So we'll see what happens in that game. I also had that written down. The game's at Arrowhead as well. But my college football game of the week is the game that's on Big Noon Kickoff, is Indiana, Ohio State. This, I think, is without a doubt the biggest game in Indiana program history. I don't think I'm supposed to say that.
No.
And it was just announced today that the Ohio State starting center, Seth McLaughlin, is out with a torn Achilles, which is very unfortunate. Ohio State was thin on the offensive line. Now they're down 2 starters, and Indiana's got a pretty nasty defensive line. That is the strength of their team. And when you watch Indiana, and I'm going to say some nice things about Curt Cignetti, which is not easy for me to do, but they are they're fundamentally sound. They are well disciplined. They aren't going to beat themselves. They tackle well, and then offensively, Curtis Rourke is as good as advertised. Joey Galloway's already scared because he's saying that Curtis Rourke should just sit this out against Ohio State so he doesn't have to worry about getting hurt, because it cost Florida State a spot last year, which is ridiculous because they played Purdue to end the season.
And it's like,
if it was a 12-team playoff last year, Florida State's in the playoff.
Yeah, so Galloway's just scared because he's an Ohio State guy.
Which also potentially too is if Ohio State loses this game, are they out of the college football playoff?
You have to consider that because their 2 best opponents they played this year, they would have lost to. And they didn't look that good against Penn State. And at 10-2 with no really quality good
potentially 10-2. There's one more game next week, which
there is.
If Indiana pulls this off, I'm fully back on board. Michigan is going into Columbus and pulling off a win.
So, okay, we'll reframe that. At possibly 10-2, could Ohio State be out? I think so. Especially if these teams in the Southeastern Conference win this weekend, and you have a laundry list of 10-2 teams in that conference.
Not to mention there's going to be 3 teams from the Big Ten because Penn State's in.
Penn State's in. Oregon.
They only have the 1 loss. Oregon's in. And if Indiana wins, they're going to finish the year 12-0. It's going to be 12-0 versus 12-0.
In the Big Ten title game.
In the Big Ten title game.
Which is crazy to think. And then also this last weekend with Clemson getting that win against Pittsburgh, I don't know how it's going to work out for them, but there still is. I still think there's a small chance the ACC could get 2 teams.
I think so. I think if SMU loses, I think they're probably out.
They're probably out.
If they lose another game or they lose the ACC championship, they're probably out. Yeah. And if SMU is to lose, I don't have their schedule in front of me. If they lose and Miami schedules. And Clemson win out,
I think it's Clemson, Miami.
It would be Clemson, Miami, and do both get in? I don't know. I think if
Clemson
Miami
wins, both could get in. If Miami wins, Clemson's out.
Yeah, I would probably agree with that as well.
Okay, this is too much hypotheticals. The bigger hypothetical is this: what if, Dylan? What if Ohio State finishes 9-3? He's gone.
Well,
right? He's gone, right?
Well, if they're 9-3, that would mean they've lost their last 2 games.
That's what I'm saying.
That would be 3 years in a row that Ohio State has lost their last back-to-back games to end the season.
And he's gone.
Also,
right? Ryan Day's gone.
I mean,
with this $20 million roster,
probably
he's gone, right? He has to be.
I would probably say they're stupid to let him go.
I agree. Because who else?
Ohio State is a very delusional fan base. I mean, everybody is, but that is also, John Cooper won a lot of games at Ohio State, but he couldn't beat Michigan. He couldn't win a big game, and that cost him his job. And the Ohio State fans are a lot more batshit crazy now than what they were in the 90s when John Cooper was there. Kirk Herbstreit talks about it, how after they won that national title over Miami, it took that fandom to a whole other level and brought unrealistic expectations to that program, which they are a national brand traditionally. If Michigan has more wins in the rivalry, but if you go back and you look at the years and you go look at the seasons, Michigan a lot of times would stumble into that game 8-3, 7-4, but then Ohio State would be undefeated or one loss. Michigan would win that game, and it would cost Ohio State a spot in the national title, a spot in the Rose Bowl, and that was eventually what led to John Cooper's demise.
It's interesting. I mean, like I said, still 120 minutes of football to play. This could be a bunch of hoopla, and they could be playing Oregon again. But hypotheticals are fun sometimes.
They are. And potentially hilarious, too.
Oh, God, yes. Because then we can just hear Nick Saban on College Game Day this week one all again. $20 million, it don't mean anything. What did he say? If your team ain't for shit or whatever he said. You're talking about if you don't have the right players, it'd be hilarious.
Well, Ohio State fans better hope that they win these next two games, because if they lose to Michigan, I don't know if people are going to want to. Would I be licking my chops?
Dylan, can I be honest? As someone who is impartial on the Michigan-Ohio State rivalry, if Michigan were to beat Ohio State, I don't want to talk to you.
Well, you'll have to, because you'll be my therapist, because you've been the last 3 years when they've won this game. But
yeah, I am the one who has calmed you down these last 3 years.
Or just let me vent to you and give you updates, and that's true. And then talk to you, and then usually you answer, "Oh, this is the Ohio State Ryan Day lost his 1-3 versus Michigan hotline."
Yes. I can thank Dan Brower for that one. This is your Ryan Day is 1-3, and the last is his career against Michigan leader. Fan radio.
But we'll go up to the NFL. My NFL game of the week it has to be the Hard Bowl. Chargers, Ravens.
It's a great choice.
Bit of scrapping for wild card positioning at this point. Right now, the Steelers are poised to run away with this. Steelers are potentially entering into juggernaut category, according to Barstool Big Cat's tier rankings, which got a tip of the cap to Big Cat, because this week's tier rankings were the best they have been.
Oh, they were so good. Like the last couple weeks, they were mid. They were okay, but he took it to a whole another level this week.
I think the Bears really shit in the bed really put him in a bad mood, because right now juggernauts are Lions, Bills. Juggernauts, if they beat Jameis Winston, are the Steelers. Super Bowl contenders, Chiefs, Ravens, Eagles. Playoff teams, Commanders, Cardinals, Texans, Vikings, Chargers. Team could be good if their 32-year-old quarterback stopped throwing so many INTs. Green Bay Packers. Bo Nix is elite. Broncos. If the Cardinals don't win the NFC West, one of these teams will.
It's all three. It's
Niners, Rams, Seahawks.
It's all three.
Make the whole team out of Bijan, including the shitty defense, the Falcons. Lurking, Bucks, Colts, Dolphins. Lurking, but they're dead, but I can't quit them, but they're definitely dead. Bengals. Fun QBs that could play spoilers is the Browns and Patriots. Yeah, shout out Drake May, looking good.
Drake May.
Fun head coach that clogs toilets and wins games. The Saints and Darren Rizzi. This might be my favorite one, and just painful at the same time. Fat head coach that clogs toilets and loses games. Cowboys and Mike McCarthy. Italians are back. The Giants, Tommy DeVito and the Rizzler. Yeah. Ass. Titans, Mike Tyson's butt cheeks from the Paul Tyson fight, which I don't know. Did you watch that, Grant?
I did not.
No? Oh.
No.
We tried watching it on Netflix and it kept lagging, the internet troubles or the connection troubles. So shout out Meth Streams for the win. And Panthers are also in the ass category. Mega ass is the Raiders. Numb to it all, Jets and Bears. FCS program Jaguars.
Beautiful.
But the Harbaugh,
beautiful.
John and Jim, first time they have faced off since I think it's been since the Super Bowl, hasn't it?
Since the Super Bowl, yeah.
Since their Super Bowl. Potentially the first time that Jim Harbaugh can say that he's beaten his brother if they are to come away with it. But going to be a battle, and thought about doing a recording next week because of Thanksgiving being on Thursday, and usually we try to release it a day early. And then I was like, well, if it's a bad Monday night game, we could probably record Monday. And I look, Ravens Chargers. Nope. We're gonna record Tuesday next week. So the Harbaugh is my NFL game of the week.
I'm gonna go to the NFC, and I'm gonna go to some long time. Well, I don't want to call them rivals because this one team wins every single time they play in the playoffs, but teams that have a history of putting up very competitive games with each other. The Green Bay Packers and the San Francisco 49ers. San Fran, coming off a bye. I think the bye last week, and they lost. Not a good look, especially losing a divisional game to the Seahawks.
They are one of those teams that they are what they are. Kind of reminds me of the 19 Patriots, where it might just be done. Like, I think they're tired. I think they're
said that
worn out from their losses.
Their losses,
season losses.
They've had short off seasons those last 2 years, playing in the Super Bowl, playing in an NFC title game. McCaffrey's hurt to start the year. Ayuk tears his ACL against the Chiefs. All the other injuries that this team. Dre Greenlaw's not going to come back. Dylan, it feels like this team is cooked.
Debo seems like he's checked out. He's not what he is.
He got paid. He's not the same player anymore because he's not getting the ball. Like, this team.
And it seems like the team doesn't have any faith in Shanahan either.
Correct. Like,
especially in late game situations.
It feels like it's over. Like, just put a fork in them and consider them cooked. But they're still around, and they're a team where, just like Kansas City last year, you sit back and you're like, they could be dangerous because you have the coaching staff on the offensive side of the ball where you're like, they could get this thing figured out. So you just don't know. In Green Bay, they're sitting here at 7-3, but are they closer to 4-5, or are they a 7-3?
Selfishly,
team?
Yes.
And we just don't know where they're going to be here in the NFC, and this is big for them because the Vikings have some winnable games coming up here. The Lions are a juggernaut, so there's 2 playoff spots right there. You still got the Commanders. What's the rest? Is Green Bay going to be hanging around that 6-7 mark? They need every win they can possibly get. And now, like I said, it's Thanksgiving. This is when the real football begins. Jordan Love, I understand you were hurt a couple times this year, but to start the season, so you're off to a slow start. This is when you picked it up last year and you became the guy. And you got that $200 million contract because of what you did last year on Thanksgiving against the Lions. Well, it's go time. So I'm intrigued to see how this game goes, because for the loser, it could go down a path of destruction here. Because if I'm not mistaken, the Packers still have to play the Vikings in the Lions again. So not
and
like
both on the road for the Packers too.
Both on the road, yes.
But
so, yeah, since I couldn't pick the Harbaugh because that's the obvious game of the week, we'll go Green Bay, San Francisco.
Yeah. So, Grant, we'll stay with you. What do you got for curveball of the week?
So I'm going to ask this question kind of a week early, just because I'm selfish, but it revolves around the Thanksgiving Day meal. What would you say, Dylan, is like one of the main dishes that people always serve that you could go without?
Ooh.
Like, of course, it's a day of stuffing your face and doing God knows, inhaling everything. What's the one thing that you're like, you know what? If it's not there, that's okay.
Ooh. Man, I could probably say the cranberry sauce. I'm not usually that's one I have, and it's just a little scoop there. But I'd probably say the cranberries, just because you only get so much room on the plate, and
Mm-hmm.
it's great for the moist maker your day after
The day
Thanksgiving
after.
leftovers.
Mm-hmm.
But while it's there, it is what it is. I'll eat it, but if I don't have room on my plate, I'm not. I'll
Yeah.
survive without it. I don't know if you consider that a main dish or a part of it, but you gotta have
You
turkey, you gotta have ham.
you could make an argument it's not part of the main dish, but if it's on the plate, it's on the plate. If you feel like you don't
But
need
when
it,
you
then you
think
don't
of
need it.
Thanksgiving, you also think of turkey, you think of the mashed potatoes, you think of sweet potatoes, you think of green bean casserole, you think, which I didn't know this until recently, mac and cheese you often see on there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you think of cranberries. As
Mm-hmm.
you think of the stuffing. Duh. How do I forget that?
Mm-hmm. So I'm gonna stick with some of the bigger parts of the meal that you said, and if you got to take something out, it might get a little controversial here, but I'm gonna say it anyway. The green bean casserole. I maybe don't need it. Give me a
You
give me a day of if I'm just eating an absolute shit ton of food, just give me all the protein and all the carbs I can get. The vegetables can stick to the side for one day a year. I'm okay. I'm okay with that.
That's a good call.
Hmm.
Not a
If
bad
I'm
choice.
being
That was probably my second choice, actually, would have been the green bean casserole.
if I'm going to be thankful for living in the best country in the world, um, I don't need the green beans.
You
Give
don't
me the
need those
turkey.
vegetables.
No, honestly, just give me half my plate turkey and half my plate mashed potatoes and gravy, and call me good.
You after a well, shit, has it been 11, 12 years now of us knowing each other? You
That's
finally realize you don't need vegetables. We met in what, 2014,
14.
I think, officially.
Yeah,
Yeah,
14.
so but we're going on 12 years essentially. You finally listen to me that vegetables are overrated.
I'm a
And
growing man.
as
What can
so,
I say?
as the healthiest, potentially, as of now, as it stands, the healthiest person in the family, me, who doesn't eat a lot of vegetables, I'm the health expert here.
Hey, Al Michaels is 80 years old, and he's still calling NFL games on a Thursday, and he's doing a great job considering the game he has. You know what he doesn't eat? Vegetables.
Vegetables. Yes, correct. And also, when they do games in LA and they show what he eats at Toscana, it looks incredible.
It looks incredible. Yes, it does.
Now, I'm not anti-vegetable because I dabble. I dabble. I like the green bean casserole, but
Yeah.
there's a lot of times on Thanksgiving too where you get the green bean casserole and you don't get the crunchy onions on top,
You got
and
to
that
have the
helps.
crunchy onions. You
Yep.
got to have the crunchy onions.
And sometimes you don't get it. It depends on where you sit in the line of where you're getting it.
Hmm.
Because you also can't get rid of the dinner roll, because when you have everything that's left on the plate, you eat
You
that
got to
last
scoop it
and
up
you
with
scoop
something.
everything up on it. Yep.
Yeah, I got to scoop it up with something.
So, but I think that wraps up this week's episode of the Three Guys Talking Ball podcast. I also got to give a shout out. Congratulations to all the state champions that were crowned. Was I 4? No, I think I was 3-1. I can't remember here because I picked Velva. Velva won. I picked New Rockford. I picked Horace. And I think I picked Davies, but Cheyenne won.
I was 3-1.
So I also had it wrong that so for the longest time Cheyenne ran the triple option, but it was actually Davies that was running it this year. Cheyenne was more of an air it out, throwing the ball around team.
Oh.
But yeah, and NDSU's got a big one. They beat South Dakota on Saturday. They don't have to leave the Fargo Dome until Frisco. So take care of business there, get home field advantage. And for the first time in 21 years, Grant, the Dickinson State Bluehawks are hosting a playoff game in the NAIA playoffs, which is very, very exciting. The last time they played Northwest Oklahoma, and I was at that game. It was snowy. It was cold out. They had this black quarterback that reminded me of Michael Vick. The Bluehawks could not tackle him all day. Ended up playing in the NFL. Played receiver for, I believe, the Cowboys and the Chargers. And you get some bonus points if you can guess who that quarterback was.
Was it like was he a special teams player for the Cowboys? Long dreads?
He did not have dreads. He was he was a special teams. He was kind of in that middle area, like that mid receiver. He was usually always behind. He was behind T.O. He was behind Terry Glenn. I'm trying to think what other quarter or receivers they had that year, but he wore number 84 for the Cowboys.
It wasn't Michael Clayton. I don't know.
It was, do you remember the name Patrick Creighton?
Patrick Creighton. I can't say I do.
Okay. That was the quarterback the last time DSU hosted a playoff game. And
okay.
Yeah, ran all over the Bluehawks, ended their season. I believe DSU was undefeated that year. And it was in the quarterfinals. The game got off to a good start. And then he just kind of took over, and DSU I believe they made a comeback, but it was too little, too late. And that was the end of the Bluehawk season. And crazy to think that was the last time they hosted a playoff game, but it's back. It sucks because the game is at 1, and there are a couple of good games that are kicking off. And I'm conflicted because I want to watch Ohio State, Indiana. It is Brawl of the Wild. It is Cat Grizz game, or Grizz Cat for our friend Mike Zier week, which is I think Montana State's gonna roll the Grizz. Sorry, Mike, but also, that game's always a fun game to watch. And then it's NDSU South Dakota that is also going to be kicking off at noon. So a lot of good options, weather permitting, and who knows? Maybe it's going to be a little bit too cold out. And the DSU game should be on TV, so I might just have to watch it that way.
Can't beat it.
So that wraps it up. We'll be back next week, and thank you guys for tuning in. We will be recapping the week that was, and we'll be looking ahead to rivalry week in college football. So until next time, have a good one. Stay safe, stay warm, and keep her between the lines. Thank you guys for listening. We'll talk to you next week.